Basically, the feeling of me be calling myself the father of scalable business models came about like 3 years ago. And when I was looking at this startup ecosystem here in Kenya, I realized that most of the people that were ahead of me were building tech solutions, but they were not building tech solutions that can go beyond even 1 million users. And realized that they're more focused on the local market. And when we compare with the West, people are building products that are being used globally. And I realized that for me to have a scalable business model, I need to look at a business model that can be sold to the mass market and go beyond the average of 250,000, which is the most that most of the Kenyan technologies startup founders have achieved. And by doing so, I believe that I was the father of scalable business model, because I am only among the few who have dared to try build a model that can be scaled and be used by a mass market of over 1 million users. And that's how I started calling myself the father of scalable business model, because I was building from an African context and a global context. My innovation journey started while I was in school. I realized that I was passionate about technology when I was just finishing my first year, but I was doing actuarial science, and I said, how can I transition towards technology, which I'm passionate with? And that is when I started participating in local initiatives such as the Kenyatta University Career Week. And during the first career week that happened when I was in campus, they called for projects, and I did my first project. It was called Be Hot 254, where I was building like a technology solutions to help beauty service providers to market themselves. And when I went to present, I didn't know how to present, but I just went, and my project became the best in the entire school. And that's when it came to my realization that I can do this. And that was some of the first initiatives that I had taken in my life. I also used to talk to my friends in first year. We could build apps, though I didn't know how to build apps by then. Then I was trying to talk and just to invoke that innovation spirit in them, like, let's do something, we can use this free time to build apps, to brainstorm on ideas. But some of them thought I was insane. Some contributed and helped, until now when I found my path and now said, okay, if I don't have even people supporting me, I will do it. Because it actually seemed very impossible to try and do tech initiatives at that time. Yeah. Yeah, there was something before that, and what was before that was Behold 254, because it was my first product that I wanted to sell to the market, because I had that passion to actually take to the product to real customers who can pay for it. But now, that excitement was good to initiate me into the process. But when I was finishing my second year, I had applied for programs such as Lions then by KCB, and I didn't get through. And I was discouraged because I don't have capital, I don't have the skills to build the app, so I almost gave up. But in the middle of giving up, I came to Chandaria Business Innovation and Incubation Center at Kenyatta University. And at that time, they had just a training program. Then I enrolled for the training program. And by that time, I was like, okay, let me get into the program with Behold 254. But when I came into the program, I encountered friends now who were like-minded, and they had the skills to build tech. And now in the event of brainstorming and some of the previous activities that had undergone back then, probed me to create a new solution. And since I had someone who can build it, I formed the first partnership with someone who can build. I came up with the idea on how it can be modeled. Then he said he will build the technology. And that's how I came up with my second idea, that is Shopokoa. And Shopokoa was born then. Then because I had to have a company to run a business, I registered Duka Tech Solutions as the company now behind Shopokoa and any other product that I was building and I was to build in the future. So I think Behold 254 was built for the beauty industry, beauty and wellness industry. And by then I was just like, if brand, people can create solutions that can be used by people and solve problems, I was like, how can I create a beauty-centric platform whereby salon service providers, freelancers in the beauty industry can come and just post their content and market themselves and get customers through my platform. So it was just like a marketing tool for salons. And that is how Behold 254 evolved. But now when I switched off to focus on Shopokwa, it lagged a little bit until when I had the capacity and the stability now to revisit that solution. But now when we were revisiting it, I also adjusted the model so that it can be leveraged as a platform to shape the workforce for the beauty industry, so that young people who don't have jobs in the beauty industry can list their services on Behold 254 and get customers. And that is how I transitioned Behold 254, which is now Soko Beauty and is now available on Play Store with over 1,000 customers using the app today. So, and that is now on the Soko Beauty bit. When it comes to Shopokwa, yes, I rarely give up on the solutions that I'm building because I'm always building to sell, to ensure that they get into the hands of the customers. And so back then, Shopokwa was just like a simple digitization of the shopkeeper credit model, where people go to the shops and the shopkeeper takes their name when they are getting bread or milk on credit. Then after there, they have to pay in small installments. So I decided to create an app to digitize that, which is now Shopokwa. And as the app was evolving, I realized that there was a big funding gap for small and medium-sized enterprises, not only in Kenya, but across Africa. And thus now I advanced Shopokwa into kind of a banking infrastructure that is meeting the funding needs for SMEs, but we are using a more advanced model whereby we are tokenizing those loans and allowing people across the world to invest in them. And once we mobilize those funding, we're able now to give them to SMEs to run their businesses, and they are more short-term funding up to 1 month. And that was now on top of the shopkeeper credit model. And we've been able to reach over 7,500 customers up to today. I think before I started locally, and most of the opportunities that were coming in required me to travel globally to get that training first of all. And now through that process of training, that's when I started realizing that actually having a local mindset alone does not create technology that has a bigger impact. And that is when I started now having a global mindset. And that is some of the benefit that I got now from working with global players, because they started invoking me that ability and the belief system that actually I could build a solution that can go beyond my local context. And from that getting global mindset, now I started looking at how can this be done. So it gave me that motivation also to look at different kind of knowledge base that can help me now achieve that global mindset practically beyond the training that I was getting when I was working with global players. And you see, learning is a continuous process. I'm still in the process of also participating in some of the global programs, and they keep shaping me to become an innovator who can create something that can be used globally, because now I have that global mindset. Yeah, so after the training program, again, the same issue I faced when I started my first idea was funding. And now, because we had no funds, fortunate enough, we had a program called the Leaders in Innovation Fellowships that was being run with Kenya National Innovation Agency. And now through that process, they told me submit an application as long as you have a passport. And I'm like, yeah, I have a passport, so let me just submit that application. So I submitted that application, and I was selected among the top 12 innovation across the country that needed to participate in that program. So, and they said everyone who's participating, they will submit a business plan of up to 5 million Kenya shillings. Then they will decide how much they're going to fund each startup based on that business plan. And it had a training package in the UK. So after the training, you come and get funding. And I think that was the first door that now opened for me the first business capital that now I had to inject into Shopokoa. So I went for the training, I came back, I submitted my business plan, and I was awarded some funding from the total budget of 5 million that I had presented. And that helped me to fast track development by hiring some expert developers to meet the needs of what we didn't know. Then I hired a marketing team that went to the market to sell my solution in form of a mobile application. And in that process also, it was very useful to get customer feedback, because customer feedback helped us now to improve. Because if you get feedback from, let's say, 100 customers, you get to understand what is actually what they're willing to pay for, that now you can refine in your business model now to sell to many millions of customers. And that is how I was able to validate the Shopokoa model and now prepare it for growth and scalability, because now I had fully understood what my customers were willing to pay for. So for me, I think to get it right, from some of the very key models that have been very important to shaping my entrepreneurial journey, the first one was mentorship. Because I realized that when I came here at Chandari, we had people who had actually really succeeded more than I have even imagined that a Kenyan startup had succeeded. So we had people who have succeeded in the area of funding, and we have people who have succeeded in the area of business. So I started building friendship and relationship with them. And of course, these people are busy, so you have to be really assertive and watch what they are doing, because sometimes you can watch and learn rather than just talking to them. And that is one of the things that actually helped me to understand the process of fundraising and the process of understanding what do investors really look into a business before they give you that money to test out the solution. And now looking at what can I also invest in my startup to make it more investable, so that today, if I get funding today, I can also be capable of getting funding tomorrow and even raise funding after tomorrow. What can I focus on to make it more investable for bigger funding? So that is through mentorship with some of the innovators that were ahead of me, that I saw that they have really succeeded in the area of funding. And in terms of the area of sales, I had to actually also look at mentorship with startups that have actually scaled and reached a lot of customers. So I started to watch what was this process that they were using to gain that sales. And I realized that most of them, first of all, they just went to the market and now they learned what their customers wanted. But also they focused on simplicity, because sometimes if you focus on having a very complex product, it might confuse the customers. So they looked at what are the kind of simple things can we invest in this product, so that the product is very simple for us to quickly get customers, quickly start getting money into the company now before we scale. And one last thing is through now believing in yourself and daring bigger dreams. I have dared bigger funding that I knew I will not be given, but I wanted to understand the process of getting the bigger funding, especially where you don't have a mentor. So what you do, you apply for it. Once they come, now you understand the process and you start preparing, so that the next time you get such kind of a stage, you'll be fully prepared now to get that funding. And that have been some of the key 3 models that I've used for me to actually advance faster compared if I will not have any other kind of model I was using. This came up about when we were building technologies and realized that actually Africa was not part of the first, second, and third industrial revolutions. And now with the emergence of the fourth industrial revolution with technologies such as artificial intelligence, virtual reality, augmented reality, space technologies, neural technologies, I was like, will our generation just sit there and not participate in these technologies? And realize that the gap that was actually preventing them from participating in building such kind of technology was the unavailability of the knowledge base and the skills that are required to participate in these fourth industrial and future industrial revolutions. And that's why we created Revolutionize Engineering. We wanted to revolutionize the current mindset of young people so that they can now start upskilling to embrace these technologies, so that in the future, when they are needed, when we have the needs of skills to build these technologies, they will be available and say we are skill ready to build this solution, and we can be able to participate in this fourth industrial revolution, even future industrial revolution. So it came to fit that gap that I saw in the market. And when it came to women empowerment, realize that almost 70% of businesses that you are working with as our customers are women. And realize that it's amazing that these women are actually embracing technology, but they are not fully inculcated on how technology works and how they could actually advance and increase their income, especially for women that come from rural communities or poor urban communities. And now we came up with this program because we felt like if we empower these women from like poor urban communities, they can be able to enter into the manufacturing field and start manufacturing products and grow their income. They can digitize their businesses and even integrate with e-commerce, and they start selling online and making more money. So our main objective was to ensure that they embrace digitization, and at the same time ensure that digitization and the introduction of new approaches on how to run their businesses is able to ensure that their income have increased beyond what they are making before we introduce the program. Now, for the women empowerment, we looked at what is more culture driven. So we realized that many women are part of chamas, and we looked at communities, like Kibra, Kayole, Madare, some of the slum communities or low-income urban communities. And because we did not know these women, we first of all look at chamas. Then we schedule a meeting with them. Then we tell them we have this training program. We will come physically and induct you into the training for a day. Then most of the services are actually, you have to have a smartphone for you to access. Or if it's a financial service that you need, we have agents in the communities where you can go to when you don't have a smartphone. And after you go through the training, and what we've done now is part of our SME funding. If you have a business and now you need funding maybe to invest in a machine, that you realized after the training that if I have this machine, it will help me grow the business. Then we give you the funding, you buy the machine, and you practically use the training that we gave you to now invest into the machine, start doing that businesses, scale it, and start selling. And now we're able to monitor your sales month by month to see if indeed our training is creating impact. And if it's not, we revisit the model and we're able to adjust based on also the feedback they give us on what will actually work for them. Then we're able to ensure that at least after the training, then after they get the funding, they're able now to actually realize increased income as an output of what the program wants to achieve. So for the youth, we've worked mostly with the university students. So what we did, we organized physical trainings. So we released information across social media platforms to invite them to apply to join the Revolutionize Engineering program. And like, for example, last year we had over 300 applications, but we had room for 100 students. So we were able to onboard 100 students into the program for 6 months. And we did physical training. We had a place in Nairobi. We invited them to come and we catered for everything. They came, they received the training. Then after the training, they were matched with different projects that actually involved the technologies that we are looking at, the fourth industrial revolution-based technologies. And after those 6 months, we were actually to even fast track our own internal products like Shopokwa, Soko Beauty. They were built very fast because these young people came with the energy, we trained them, and they're able to practically build those solutions within 6 months. I think what will really make this space useful to us is the infrastructure or the environment that will actually catalyze the adoption of AI, because you realize that it's only useful to us if we're able to participate. But if we do not have an enabling environment that will actually cause us to participate, it means that we will keep talking about it as a buzzword and we'll keep consuming Western technologies which actually we have not contributed to. So we won't have any impact on advancing these technologies, and that means that our role will be very small. And much of it is more dependent on the enabling environment. And an enabling environment cuts across policy, government initiative. AI also needs a lot of compute power. So if we have a lot of people giving in free resources for young people to try out new products, that means that we'll have a lot of products coming in, and eventually the best performing products will now have a bigger impact, that even we, at some point, I believe we can be able to even import our own technologies to be used in the Western markets. I think in terms of reaching the target, one of the problems that from experience I have come to understand is limited schooling. Because you realize that the mass market, unless they have a schooling level whereby they can understand the usefulness of that technology, it means that people may have your technology, but because of limited schooling, they're unable to use it. And that's why I realize now most of even the customer segment, we try to make it to reach either the middle income and the high income. Unless if it's a very big mass market product, it will able to reach the normal Mwananchi who maybe dropped out of school at class 3. And that being a challenge, now what we need to do is to try to meet that gap. How can we build technology so that people, even with limited schooling, are able to understand that product and use it, considering that some of these products, they're using it for the first time. It's not like a matchbox where they know this will light fire. But if they don't know how to use it, it means that they'll be like, we have this app called Shopokwa, but yeah, it just helps people get products on credit. But if they don't know how to use it, it becomes difficult for the product to reach that customer. Then another thing is technology, because some of the products that are actually bringing value are smartphone, are mobile app based, and you need a smartphone. So if someone doesn't have a smartphone, especially in the rural communities where they have USSD, they might not enjoy the full features of the product, and especially when that feature is contributing to the monetization of that product, that means that you lose out on a particular market. So bridging that gap also will help now to ensure that you're able to monetize beyond urban communities and even rich rural communities for people who don't have access to smartphones. I think for global partners, number one, you look at emerging trends and disruptors. We use ChatGPT today because it was a disruptor. So if you're building from a global context, think from a disruptive mindset, because the world will only pay attention to something that has disrupted the way we do normal things. And that's why now for us, we are focusing on tokenization, building a tokenized banking infrastructures for SMEs across Africa. And this is cutting across anyone in the world having the ability to invest where they want without having maybe limitation that are created by our borders. And that is one of the key things that as a young people who are entering into this space, if you want to be global, think of disruption. That is one key thing. So I think for Duca Tech Solutions, we are positioning ourselves as a global brand. And one of now our mission is just revolutionize engineering, whereby we want many young people to participate in the fourth industrial revolution and the future industrial revolution. And now through that, aside from just building our product, now we are opening up opportunities even for young people to come and co-build with us, and we're able to coach them to carry that global mindset, that disruptive mindset that will be able to cause them to build products that can be used globally. And for me, it's just a call out for young people interested in building global products out there to reach us so that we can be able to co-build and help them to be able to carry that mindset for them to build products that can be used globally. And we give them all that kind of support because I have a very strong experience in resource mobilization. I also bring in that experience and technology expertise so that I'm not just building for myself, but I'm also creating that enabling environment for other young people to build. And I always believe that there's enough for everyone. So I won't feel like they are coming in as competition, but I feel like they're coming in to collaborate so that we can build a better world together.